I'm Troy Thompson. Over the last 15 years, our family has worked hard to create a place we call the center of the universe. A place where our kids and someday our grandkids can come home to and laugh, have fun, learn how to work, pray, worship God, and be a place to celebrate life with all our friends. After a quarter century in uniform, I put away one set of boots for another, working on our acreage, improving the land, fixing some structures, and building new ones. We say, give back to the community, be useful, keep your hands calloused, and spread the gospel. This is a little place in a little state right in the middle of flyover country, from which cries out a voice in the wilderness to all who might want to listen, learn, and laugh along with us. This is our American dream.
Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome to Sunnyside. It's the Olympics. I don't know if you're tracking this or not, but the 2024 Olympics are on the air right now, happening over there in France and various, other places. I was watching some of the surfing that is happening. Surfing is an Olympic sport now, and that is happening, I think, in Fiji or something like that. So it's all French, all over the place, and we're sort of watching it, but not all the time. I'm not an enormous Olympic fan. I used to be. I think we all were. I think we all like the idea of our nations competing against other nations in an opportunity to determine who and which sports and activities are the best to receive that gold medal, that silver medal, or the coveted bronze medal, the coveted bronze medal before there are no medals. So it is something that is happening right now. We're going to talk about it today here on the Sunny Side of Life. And tell you a couple other things that are going on before we jump into the Olympics. A minor form of the Olympics occurred this past weekend, and that was the 16th annual Forest City Alumni Golf Tournament. And that was fun. I got the opportunity to announce a little bit out there and see a lot of people that I get to see maybe once a year or sometimes even fewer than that. Shout out to Steve Anderson. I saw him. He came in class of 93 with me, played on that team. I did not play golf, but Steve listens out there in Massachusetts, so I appreciate that. Neil Stenson, Michael Liquist, Carl Woldridge, all the guys that were there having a good time. So didn't mean to leave anybody out there. There was just so many alumni. I had a great time. I probably had too much of a great time, to be honest with you. The the day Saturday turns out to be a long and a hot one. I spent a lot of the time kind of keeping the food ready and just bringing people, talking to people as they came through and getting some photos and things like that. So it was a very good time to see all of those people. I wouldn't say it was the height of athletic prowess because it's a golf tournament, but it was definitely a lot of fun. And this weekend, we did some school shopping because school is just around the bend. And that means that we had the opportunity to go and take the boys shopping, get their stuff that they needed. Well, now that Colin's, going to be a sophomore in high school, he doesn't require quite as much things. It is kind of different, when I distinctly remember when all the boys were still in elementary school and they had to get this just huge list of things and Kleenexes and pencils and crayons and markers and all of these things. And now it's like they get into high school and you don't even have to, you just get a couple of notebooks and some folders and you're good to go. Jack, of course, is going off to college here very shortly. He'll start with the football camp as he goes and become a Warrior and play football, and that's just happening in just a couple of weeks here, so pretty quick. Actually, not even a couple of weeks. It's right around the corner, so he'll be moving in next week to Waldorf University, my alma mater, and he'll begin his college and football career there as a Waldorf Warrior. So got some things for him. That was did some refrigerator shopping. Got to have, these little dorm fridges. So I got a little fridge. He's got a fan. He's got, his roommate's bringing a microwave. And so had to get some things there and all of that good stuff. And that was fun. That was, it's kind of a long day of shopping as well, to be honest, particularly if it's right after the alumni golf tournament, which was also a long day for different reasons. So that is something that we had the chance to do and kind of, mixed feelings, excited, but also a little sad. Granted, he's not going away. Jack's not going too far away from us, just up the road, but he'll still be living there on campus and getting to know his friends and teammates and all of those things that you do when you're in college. So that happened this weekend as well. I've been working with stone here at Sunnyside. We have some stone facing that I put on some of the buildings and continue to do that. And I'll have that wrapped up this week, which is very exciting. We will do one more building with stone facing. That'll be down the road. Won't be this year, but there's one more building that I want to do that way. So wrapping that up, finishing the siding on the garage that I've been talking about for a long, long time. And so that'll be nice to get these things wrapped up. As the summer comes to an end here shortly in the next month, just before Labor Day, most of those types of projects will be done. Lots of projects to do, of course, at Sunnyside, and it keeps me busy, keeps my hand callous, and kind of keeps me tired, to be honest with you. A lot of just, work to be done. And so that is all happening out here at Sunnyside. It's going to be good. Next weekend, I'll be out at the Heritage Park in Forest City, serving in the afternoon on Sunday as a docent at the Armed Forces Museum that they've got set up out there. That's going to be fun to do that and see people come through as Heritage Park opens. If you've never been, Heritage Park is this, I don't know how many acres it is, maybe 80 acres, maybe 100, I don't know. But it's they brought in a lot of old buildings from different parts of the county. They've got steam threshing days next weekend, so they take out the old steam tractors and they get those things going and do some threshing, and that's usually pretty well attended. So something to see all weekend if you're in the area or thinking to make a trip, just a quick trip before school starts, do some learning, and maybe stop by the museum, the Armed Forces Museum that they've put together, and I'll be in there on Sunday afternoon. So that's happening next week. Now, let's talk about what's happening right now. The Olympics, man. I remember, as a kid, kind of following the Olympics like we did back in the day. Everybody was kind of following Mary Lou Retton and just all of the stars of track and field, and just amazing things happen. And the different places that the Olympics have been. I was trying to think of the ones that I just distinctly remember. I remember Los Angeles. I was very young when that happened. I remember Atlanta because there was a bombing. I mean, Tokyo was not that long ago. I don't remember much about it, to be honest. I remember Beijing. That was 2008, and that was quite a show, quite a fiasco. I remember them making a big deal about being. It was in August, and the 8th month, and it was in the 8th year of the new millennium. But China doesn't follow the calendar that we do anyway, so I'm not sure what all that meant. But apparently, 8 is a lucky number for them, and so I remember that. And remember London a little bit. That was not too long ago either. So now it's in Paris, and Paris, France, obviously not anywhere of the other Parises. Paris, Texas, not there. And what is unique about the Olympics, and Paris had done this before to some degree, is use the facilities that they already have. So one of the issues that comes with bringing the Olympics to your country, and particularly to your city, is the incredible amount of infrastructure work that the local government and state and federal government and the Olympic Committee, whatever, they have to put into making that venue or venues work well. And so I think what Paris has done, and there were, if you recall, there were just two bidders for hosting the 2024 Olympics, and that was between Los Angeles, California, and Paris, France. And back in, 8 years ago or whatever, they decided that it was just between those two. They both were awarded it. So the Olympics will be in 2028, will be in Los Angeles, and the Olympics this year obviously are in France. I think the number of cities and host countries that have made a vie to bid to host the Olympics has dwindled quite significantly. There used to be dozens of nations and cities that would throw their hat in the ring to host the Olympics. And now it's just really down to a handful or a couple in the case of Los Angeles and Paris. And that results in, I guess they so, okay, well, you each can have one. There's 2024 and 2028. And part of the problem is the amount of money that it takes to develop the infrastructure. Beijing spent a lot of money, and who knows how they put it all together with their labor situation over there. And they basically restructured. I remember in 1988, the Olympics were in Seoul, and obviously I was junior high at the end of my junior high career in 1988. But I served in Korea in the Army, in 1997 to 1998, so 10 years after the Olympics had been in Seoul. And there were some folks there that still remembered the changes that South Korea made to its to Seoul, but then really to the outlying areas of Korea as well, just to try to clean it up so it didn't look like it was, such a mess, or there weren't so many brothels. Maybe that's what they were trying to clean up, as I was told. So, countries make incredible infrastructure and then perhaps moral changes to put their best foot forward. But that did not seem to be the case in 2024. Paris is using, rightfully so and wisely, their venues that they already have to kind of showcase and highlight a city that is pretty easy, I think, to highlight. And anyway, with the fame and beauty and nostalgia or whatever of Paris. Never been there. Never been to Paris. My grandpa Emerson, but that was during the war, so a little bit different situation in that regard. And of course, that's smart. They're not necessarily building all these new venues and sinking all of this money into it, but they still have to spend a lot of money to make sure things are secure and all of that. And they did put on quite a show for the opening ceremonies. Let's talk about that a little bit. So as much as I don't. The pageantry that goes along with the opening ceremonies, and I'm sure with the closing ceremonies, that's still coming up at the, I think it's the 11th of August. So the Olympics opened up on the 26th of June this year in Paris as they, July 26th, the opening ceremony there all along the Seine River, how do you say that? Seine River? I don't know. And at about, almost 11,000 athletes. With the Parade of Nations, and then they kind of rolled it down the river, and they had all these different things going on, and they were weird, interesting, pretty cool. Sometimes they were really cool, French can put on a show, and then obviously, but still kind of weird, kind of Frenchy weird, like. I don't get French fashion. I'm just a mumble guy out here in the sticks. But it seemed like it was just a little haute couture, I guess is what you would probably call a lot of that. And they, it was. I didn't watch every moment of it. I thought it was the light show was pretty cool that they did with the Eiffel Tower. Some of the things that they did along the river were pretty interesting. I don't quite understand the weird headless thing with Marie Antoinette. It seems like a weird part of your history to celebrate. The French Revolution and the American Revolution are very different, in my opinion. The American Revolution, obviously, we went to war, and that lasted for quite some time, several years, that we were at war with Great Britain. And then the French Revolution followed that, and they just murdered everybody. Maybe it was because they were right there, but they take great pride in beheading and using the guillotine and the kind of a reign of terror that was following that. And I don't know if that's how you birth a nation. That's not how exactly we birthed our nation here in the United States of America. Slightly different. And also we've got the same Constitution that we had inevitably came up with in the early 1780s. And they have had several French constitutions since. I think they're on the Fifth Republic now, or maybe they're on the Sixth. I don't even know how many different French republics they've had. They keep changing it. And so France, a big ally for us in the American Revolution, has always just done things just a little differently, and maybe that's their motif, is they like to do things just a little different and weird. And I am not a fan. I'm not a fan of some of that weirdness. I'm particularly not a fan, obviously, of the way that they rolled up into the weird version of the Last Supper painting, and they used a bunch of, drag queens or whatever, and that seemed pretty terrible, like a pretty terrible idea in general. Clearly, there's nobody that is putting together the French, whoever's doing the designs for the Olympics in 2024. They're not particularly aware of, maybe they are aware. Maybe they are. I'm not exactly sure what to think about it. My wife, Heidi, she loves to watch the Olympics, and she follows it quite closely. And so that's on quite a bit. I'm usually coming through or, doing something else, and I might sit and watch for a little while. Right now, it's just kind of all of the gymnastics and some of that stuff. And I did see the amazing, what is that? What do they call that? When they're dancing in the water. What is that? Yeah. That is incredible. It's really amazing. It's like Vegas worthy stuff where they're synchronized swimming, I guess is what it is. I don't think they call it that anymore, but that is something that's different. But she showed me, did you see this? And I just couldn't believe it. I immediately looked at it and I was like, well, we both agreed, well, that's pretty satanic, and some of the other things that were just happening there in the opening ceremonies seem to be a little satanic, and I don't think that is what the Olympics are supposed to be. But there's been a lot of commentary about it, and now you can't see that weirdo version of the Last Supper because the Olympic Committee has taken it down. They've slapped a bunch of copyright stuff on it so that it can't be shown. And obviously, some people have it, and they're talking about it. I don't use video yet on this program, so I don't have it to show, and I'm not particularly interested in showing it anyway. Just to understand why people would do that. I don't understand what the impetus is, other than it is just mockery, and not that Da Vinci was necessarily I don't know if he was inspired by God necessarily, but that's obviously a very famous painting that does hang in the Louvre, I believe. And so maybe that's why they did that. I just think it's weird that they used. Why would you do that? What makes a person think that would be respectful? And maybe they know that it isn't, and that's why they do that. And there's been some commentary, and I think I concur that the only reason that they whoever they happen to be, think it's okay to mock Christianity is because they know that it's the one true way to get to heaven, and so they're going to mock that because the other religions aren't worth mocking. They're going to result in the same thing anyway. And so, or maybe they're afraid of, the response from Muslims if they were to mock Islam in some way. And so Christians these days, in this century, typically do not respond with violence. They turn the other cheek, they're offended, and as am I, but they're not seeking justice for their God and going out and committing acts of atrocity like some religions do, because, our God doesn't really need our help to do that. If he wants to smite things, he just will. But so it's just a very wicked and evil, weird turn of events for the very opening of the 2024 Olympics. And I think we probably can all agree on that. And I happen to think that there probably will be consequences that are more than commercial. And, some people have said, and I think that it's true, that obviously God can take really bad things and turn them into great opportunities for people to come to know him. And so maybe that's what will happen in their weird, backfiery way, because I can't imagine that it's celebrated unless you are obviously absent of God in the first place. You're like, yeah, that was really awesome. But perhaps people will look at the original painting by Da Vinci there, and right, it's Da Vinci, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Da Vinci's Code. That all happened. I was at the Louvre. Yeah, so it must be that. And maybe they'll go and look at that, and then they get into know the Gospels, and they'll figure out the whole story, and maybe it'll bring more people to Christ. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think that was their intention either, but God works certainly in mysterious ways. So some of the things that I have watched, like I said, I did watch some surfing, and I don't get it. I don't get the surfing thing. Obviously, it's not something that I can do. In fact, I can't do any of these things well that they're doing in the Olympics. Someone had mentioned that what they ought to do, just for a point of reference, is they ought to have a normal person, a regular Joe or Jane, attempt to do these same sports at the same time that these other world-class athletes are performing these skills, just so you can say, as a point of reference, how incredibly awesome they are. When you see how fast the swimmers are, or how amazing the dives are, or but just the even surfing or whatever it happens to be. It's really incredible. And certainly synchronized swimming. I mean, that's just magic. I don't even know what to think about that. I don't even know how do they train for, they must be in the pool all the time. It's really a very interesting thing. So certainly the spectacle of the Olympics every 4 years is worth checking into. Of course, they're in a different time zone, so they're about 7 or 8 hours ahead of us, I think they're like 6-7 hours or something like that ahead of us here in the Midwest. And so we kind of get them a little bit later, but you can get the updates in various ways at night when you're done with work or whatever it is that you're doing. And so they should just put a normal person in there, and then you can see them perform and be like, whoa, they are really a lot better than everybody else. And so there are, how many events are there? I think that there are, let's see. I don't know. Yeah, I do know. I have a list here. There's, all right. Well, here's the whole list. I'm going to have to count them up here, but there's just a lot of different. The full list for the Summer Olympic sports for this year, starting with, we'll just do these, they're alphabetical. So we're talking about aquatics, and that does have that artistic swimming, I guess is what they call it, marathon swimming, diving, water polo. I was in maybe the only full feature film called Rise of the Sea Urchins. Several years ago now, that is supposed to be the funniest water polo movie ever made. Played a character named Coach Max Dungle, and check it out. It's on YouTube. But Rise of the Sea Urchins, nothing like the water polo that's happening in the Olympics. They've got archery, they got athletics, whatever that is. What is that? I don't even know. Badminton, I know what that is though. Basketball, they got 3-on-3 in the regular basketball. United States, they always bring their pros. And it's kind of weird. You see LeBron, like hoisting the American flag, go America, and then half the other time, like a few years ago, he's kneeling at the national anthem. But, hey, whatever. So we got boxing. There's breaking. I don't know what breaking is. Anybody know what breaking is? I don't know. Maybe there's a note there. Doesn't matter. Whatever breaking. Oh, is that break dancing? Or is that the dance thing? So now there's going to be break dancing. They have, I think, team and solo competitions for breakdancing. So I probably will watch a little bit of that, because that's something that, when I was growing up, people were trying to do. I could never do it, but I remember guys would take out their little, cardboard mat, and they'd set it down and they'd do the spins and headstands, and there's all kinds of cool things. And I couldn't do any of it. But so that's a thing new to the Olympics this year. Canoe. There's a canoe sport. So you got the canoe sprint and the canoe slalom. I mean, maybe I could do that. They should make husbands and wives do the canoe. Like, you have to be married, and it'd be better if you hadn't practiced, and then just to see who can win that slalom course, if it's the husband and wife team in a canoe. Because if you've ever been in a canoe with your spouse and you haven't practiced, that in itself is entertaining. So that could be a thing. Maybe that's a new event. They could do couples canoe, and they have to legitimately be couples. Got cycling, which is obviously the road cycling, the track cycling. They have BMX racing, and then the BMX freestyle. I probably won't watch too much of that. It just seems weird to see grown men and women riding little bikes like that, but we'll see. Maybe I will catch it. I don't know. Equestrian is still in there, and that's kind of one of the originals in the modern Olympics, and one of the first, I think, a handful of sports that they were doing since they started this. And we'll talk about the history in a little bit here. But so you got equestrian eventing, the dressage, and the jumping. So this is with horses. So the horses. Who is the real athlete here? Is it the horse or is it the rider? I mean, the riders get the gold, and the horse gets some hay and some oats. And I don't know about that. But they got fencing, still doing the fencing thing, still doing sword play, and that's always fun. Again, something I don't quite understand, I guess, but I've seen it in a lot of movies, and I've done some fencing on stage in some Shakespearean productions back in the day. So, I guess there's that. They have football. Okay, but you know what they mean when they say football, right? They mean soccer. And so they've got that. They've got golf, which fine, as an Olympic sport. A lot of gymnastics, the artistic gymnastics, the rhythmic gymnastics, the trampoline gymnastics. Those have been on now, and so we're seeing that. Of course, watching Simone Biles. This is probably her, I would imagine, like her last Olympics, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to put that on her if it's not. But she's in her mid-20s now. I don't know exactly what her age is. It's been fun watching her. She's just amazing. She's just awesome what she can do. And according to my wife, who is the household Olympic expert, then her level of difficulty is so high that even if she makes a misstep, she's already rated at such nobody else can do what she does, and so that is fun to see, and that's cool as an American to kind of follow them, and I'm sure every country is following all of their athletes in this way. They've got handball, like you do, hockey, which is that field hockey? Is that different? Why would they call it hockey? I mean, I thought hockey was a winter sport thing, so that must be field hockey. This is how much I know about the Olympics. Judo, that's one of the originals right there. I dated a girl when I was in high school, and her brother was on the German Olympic team for judo. So, no messing around. Meet the brother there. They got the modern pentathlon, which we'll come back to and talk about that a little bit, and rowing. We're not going to talk about the pentathlon a lot, but the guy that kind of came up with that. They've got rowing. I mentioned that. Rugby. They've got sailing. Sailing is a sport in the Olympics. Shooting, of course, and skateboarding, and sport climbing, and surfing, which I mentioned. Also table tennis, right? So you got that whole Forrest Gump situation there with the table tennis, taekwondo, tennis itself, the triathlon, and volleyball, which includes beach volleyball and the court style volleyball there in the gym, and those are fun to watch for a variety of reasons. There's weightlifting and wrestling, Greco-Roman style and freestyle. So those are fun. I like some of the wrestling stuff. I'll probably watch some of that stuff. So those are the events that are happening, the full list of the Olympic sports in 2024. Let's see what the medal count is right now. I think that the medal count is not being led by the United States, actually. It's I think Japan is leading. No, China, of course. Of course, China's leading. China's leading the medal count, but it's pretty early still. So we'll see how this all turns out. But as of today, when I'm recording this, China's leading in the medal count. So the Olympics been around for a long time. Obviously, they before they were making a mockery of Christianity, they couldn't because it started in Greece before Christ. So it was like a one-day event prior to 684 BC, so quite a while ago. And then it was extended to 3 days and then to 5 days, and they kept getting more sports and more attendees and all of that stuff. Eventually, the ancient Olympics, kind of went away, and back in the 1800s, back in, I think 1892, there was a dude, and I'm going to probably mutilate his name, but he was a 29-year-old French baron, and his name was Pierre de Coubertin. They never say, French people don't like the way we speak French, so why even try? Who cares? But Pierre, let's just call him Pierre. Pierre de Coubertin gave a speech in Paris, and he was just saying, hey, we should do this Olympic thing. We should have modern Olympic Games. And really not a lot of people were interested in that. So it's kind of appropriate that it did, that was kind of a French guy that was pushing for the modern Olympics back in 1892. And he took a couple of years to gin up support for it so that they could get going in 1894. Looked like they had it figured out. And then they had the actual first modern Olympics 2 years after that in 1896. So 1896 is the modern Olympics. And, de Coubertin, I'm saying his name wrong, right? His whole premise was that this would be an opportunity to bring the world together in order to really, compete, obviously, but as an effort to be peaceful. that you could have all these nations together at that time. So, in 1896, they had the first modern Olympics in Greece, in Athens, which is appropriate. And at that time, in 1996, there were just 12 countries that sent athletes to the Olympic Games. And but now, in Paris, we have 184 countries participating in the Olympics. And it's pretty amazing when you think about it. The idea was that it would be like I said, a way to compete and to do so peacefully and just kind of as a world celebrate the athletic accomplishments and the training that goes into and the patriotism that goes in supporting your country. Obviously, the media was very different in 1896. There were you're not getting television reporting and there's no instant updates from the internet or anything like that. But 12 countries participated and it just grew from there to where we're at 184 countries today in the variety of the 2024 Olympics, and that's pretty cool. It does. I mean, does it help with peace? I think it. I mean, it does. Imagine there was so this happens at the beginning of the very end of the 19th century, and of course that's a couple of decades before the world goes to war in the First World War, so but it happens just before the Russo-Japanese War, Japanese-Russo War, however you want to look at it, which is right at the turn of the century, so right around 1900. And we still have this, the Spanish-American War is like 1898, so this is all happening. So war is happening shortly after this first Olympics in Greece in 1896. And what's interesting about this time in history, from my understanding anyway, is that the world has moved into modern weaponry for the most part. They're developed. Their navies are not wooden navies anymore. They're steel ships. They're self-propelled. They are the guns, the gunpowder, the accuracy, the rifling of the barrels. All of these things is much improved on. Of course, you have machine guns. They're working on chemical weapons, and their nations are just dying. Almost literally, to just see what these new weapons of war can do. And so the United States goes to war with Spain in 1898, and it really doesn't last very long. It's in Cuba and the Philippines, and it's over before it started, essentially. But that's a small token. And then on the other side of the world, Russia and Japan go to war with each other, and that's really an opportunity for the world to watch modern navies and armies battle it out together to determine, what the future of war is going to look like as they build up their own armories across the world. And then, of course, in the 19 teens, it explodes into a world war, and so on and so forth. So nations are already feeling the pride of their national status, and the Olympics are not, they're part of that, but that's not why war happens at all. So, de Coubertin, he thought that you could make it a peaceful event and bring the world together in competition. And I'd say for the most part, they've been successful in doing that for the last 100 plus years, 124 years or whatever it's been, and 128 years, I don't know. Anyway, long time, in our opinion, in modern history. And all of those, and of course, he went into World War II, and prior to World War II, they hosted the Olympics in Berlin, and that's where we got Jesse Owens over there, and he just crushes them and ruins their Nazis Ubermensch mentality to some degree. Didn't stop the war by any means. And then, of course, we went through an entire Cold War of the United States and the Soviet Union, Soviet bloc countries that are trying to, we're just kind of this cat and mouse game across the world, and wars by proxy all over the place. And yet somehow every few years, nations get together and we compete against one another. Now, in Paris this year, it is the 100th anniversary of being back in the city of Paris, because that's when they last hosted the Olympics in 1924. And so that's a big deal, and that's kind of fun for them. And it is it is something to watch. It's something to cheer for your country. It's an opportunity to be proud of being an American and having that time together with your family to maybe even learn some new things. Maybe watch that canoe event. or check out the breakdancing this year. That's a new event. See how that goes. But it's something that I feel families can still enjoy. And I think that you would think that the Olympic Committee knows that. So then that's why it's so weird that if you know families are watching, why you would do some of the weirdo opening ceremony things that they did, which in my opinion really aren't suitable for children. And children do kind of, I think, look up to these athletes, as they should, because they work hard, they train, and they represent our nation. And there's a lot of other nations that are not going to medal at all. Most nations probably, and so, but they're there and they're competing, and you kind of, if you're like me, you kind of root for them a little bit too. You're like, maybe they'll pull something out, go Belize or whatever, whatever they happen to be doing. But yeah, the Olympics are on. This is going to be a very short episode this week because what can I say? I didn't like some of the things in the opening ceremonies. I am obviously rooting for the United States of America and hoping for the absolute best. And obviously you want all the athletes to have a good time and get to know each other and maybe perpetuate a little bit of world peace to that degree. But this is what de Coubertin said. I'll just wrap it up with this. He said, there are people whom you call utopians when they speak to you about the disappearance of war, and you are not altogether wrong, but there are others who believe in the progressive reduction in the chances of war, and in that I see no utopia. It is clear that the telegraph, railways, the telephone, the passionate research of science, congresses, and exhibitions have done more for peace than any treaty or diplomatic convention. Well, my hope is that athletics will do even more. Anyone who has seen 30,000 people hurrying through the rain to attend a football match will not think this an exaggeration. And the world is watching as we see our athletes compete, and we hope for the absolute best. Go USA. And hopefully, as the world is just at we're not at a boil yet, but we're definitely simmering right under it around the world with all of the things that are happening. And it's interesting that the Olympics have always mirrored a United States presidential election year. And it's just the way it works out, every 4 years. And so lots of things are happening. And let's just hope and pray for peace. And in the meantime, for a short broadcast this week, podcast, there you go. Hello to all the friends that we saw this weekend at the alumni golf tournament. And until we meet again, go ahead and be the sunny side of somebody else's life. See you next week.
I want to thank all our friends and guests for stopping by for this episode of the Sunny Side of Life. All the Sunny Side of Life players who stopped by, creative support provided every day by my incredible wife Heidi and our fantastic 4 boys. Thanks to every one of our listeners. That means you. A big shout out to my brothers and sisters in uniform holding the line around the world. Share the word, folks. Let the people know what we're up to. Subscribe so you never miss an episode, and follow us on social media. All skits are written or adapted and directed by me, Troy Thompson, and are produced here at Sunnyside Farm Studios and delivered to all platforms by Buzzsprout. Music and sound effects are provided by Soundstripe. The Sunny Side of Life is a weekly production about our life on the family farmstead here in Iowa, the liberties we prize, and the pursuits which make us happy. Now, none of this is possible without Christ in our lives. For the Lord God is our sun and our shield. He gives us grace and glory. So may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may the sunny side of your life, liberty and pursuits, be in Christ, and made evident unto you each and every day, and give you peace.